Hello, let me fix the viewer here. So, this is just to quickly give a quick depiction of what's happened with Dinky Type, what it is, how long the story has been, how it's been up to now. The reason being is because um, it's taken a long time for what it's worth. I mean, anyway, I'll try to cut to the point. It's been about 5 years of trying to consolidate the idea of invention, music, creation, and clothing design into one. So it's kind of like a triangle. And that's what Dinky Tech is now. And going forward, that's essentially what it is. It's three sides. The one side is books, the development of books. This took a really long time to put all this together. Don't ask me why, because it's just a lot of little pieces, I guess, that make this little triangle. Anyways, the books are basically, it's like the foundation really for everything. It's kind of like where most of the light is held that circulates through the triangle ultimately. The triangle is not a main emphasis. The point is the energy of the three things. And so clothing is one of the first things I started with back in 2008. Got a t-shirt machine. It was to try to make custom shirts and designs because like they were limited design features with I got a direct to garment printer because there were limited design features with screen printing. I mean, so yeah, what's it called? Um, is it silk screen printing? Anyways, screen printing. It's hard to make a lot of colors onto that process. So anyways, that was the beginning, was to be able to make designs. Back then it was fetching. You can always change the designs and it's consistently ever changing. You can collaborate with different artists, yada yada yada. Number two is music and film development and story development within music and films and things. I wanted to do music since I was 15. I'm in my 30s, so like it's been over 20 years, basically, like 22 years that I've wanted to do music, ultimately. And there hasn't been a way to justify doing music, to have a brand story, to like specifically do it a certain way. And so it's taken as long as now to start making music because there has to be a reason, and the other two sides to the triangle needed to be there to facilitate a sort of either circular or cyclical energy that helps to hopefully continue to bring things forward. And the point being is books is the main thing, and that was the last thing to come because it consists of because it's more than just music. Like music is something that can promote items. It can promote. It's oftentimes used for promotion of business products and things like that. So that's what was vexing for a long time is developing the structure of a product in the form of a book, because a book is a consolidated. It's the most basic form of like a movie, almost like a script is a movie, right? So that's like the ingredients for a movie, and so that's what took a long time, was taking that mentality. I went to film school back in '07 is when I finished, and then some more in 2011 and 12, more film business sort of education. And like the point being is like consolidating, like getting just basicifying film into the most basic things, which is for me the story template is now the market, the experience, which is like, and the product itself. So that's the template. Like it's actually, you know, the reverse when you look at it is, so that's the storytelling template. I mean, ultimately it's the product, and then the product is connected to the market with the experience. I mean, like when you look at like the organic nature of it, it's the product. It's the first thing, and you know, the experience is the second thing to intuitively look at, and the third thing is the market. That's like the linear fashion. Like you look at the product first, you say, hey product, what are you doing, what do you exist for, where are you going? And the product says, hey, this is what I have to offer, like this is my little experience, come check me out and do this, and it's gonna, and I'll take you and I'll show you the way to the market, which means like there are other products that are similar to me. If you use me, you'll look on the internet and you'll find a lot of similar products, yada yada yada. Regardless, the way that the story template is developed is so that you start with the market, for Dinky Tech. That's the story. That's the template we decided. I just whatever started with to decide on. In other words, is starting with the market because that's like the mystery of the story. It's like what is this murky market? It's like a pool, right? So it's like that's the market. It's this big mystery. It's a big problem that needs to be solved. So that's like how movies often start. The second is the experience. It's like the journey of the hero, like in movies. So that's like this. That's what explains this part of the process. Um, it's the journey essentially, like, and it also is the experience for the customer, which is like that's what people try to convey in commercials. They try to convey that. So it's also like in a song. If I'm making a song, it's also trying to convey the story, the flow of getting the vibes of the product, and that's how the songs and music connect to the product is by actually making the story of the books in songs and music. That's part of the templated process of Dinky Tech also. We're going to try to make music to correspond with the books to sort of act out or iterate, the books, into the interpretation of the books and the stories themselves, which just, again, have these 30 sides to them. All the books, the stories have just the market to begin with. That's the first part. The second is the experience. The third is the product itself, which comes in as the hero. And that's why the template is that way, because the product comes in as the template, as the hero of the story in quotes. But again, it's really basicified. It's all really basicified. So it's like, it's just to be able to make, to do this at scale, like, and in massive quantities in shorter amounts of time. Like, we're not making a whole movie. It's just the script, and then the iteration is kind of with the music and music videos and things like that. Oftentimes, I'm just going to be, or just to start with, the music videos are going to be the 3 pictures of the book. So each book will have 3 pictures: one for the market, one for the experience, one for the one for the product itself. And those 3 pictures, which are art pieces that go in the book, the child's book, will also be the panels for the music video. So that's A, B, and C. It's just very simple. It'll be a song, and then the panels. Minute 1 is the market panel. Minute 2 is the experience panel. Minute 3 is the product panel. And then there will be a song playing over that, which will be on YouTube. Hopefully there will be more VFX that can add to the music over time or whatever. Or, I mean, anything like that. Like, improve the process of the video making and things, obviously. But that's just to start with basic music videos. It's the template, so it's fluid among the book and then the song and story making process, which go hand in hand. For example, the first book, which is already done and released at this point, which is, so we're only after number 1, have done number 1 now. It's a hovercraft story, a spreadboard hovercraft skateboard is what it's called. And that's the invention of the hovercraft skateboard. It's called a spreadboard. It's called a spreadboard for more reasons that have to do with the brand overall, the brand story of Dinky Tech, because it's trying to, like, a spreadboard is kind of like a financial term almost. So it's like we want to encourage the mindset of buying low and selling high, like just like manufacturing things. And obviously you want to pay less than you sell it for. So that spread in between is what you're trying to surf, right? So that's that little explanation. Trying to surf in that middle zone and ride it like a wave, more or less figuratively. That's why Dinky Tech stands for a mentality. As a company as a whole, Dinky was a creature. He was an animal and a 4-legged pooch at one point, and then he's translated, and now he's the tech version. And so his mindset of playing in this fashion is translating into this brand. So the third thing is kind of more intuitive. It's clothing, like the 3 panels from the storyboards. They're storyboard books, so they're not just child's books. They're storyboard books, which, like in a film, they're storyboards used before they actually make a film, oftentimes. So that's like the explanation. That's why it's called a storyboard child book, not just a child book. And they're storyboard invention child books. So that's basically it. Like, the 3 storyboards will be available as clothing at the same time after releasing the daily inventions. It's called Dinky Tech and the Nature of Love as our daily marketing process to try to continue to grow the brand and make awareness of of the brand. Um, but that's the explanation of the process. This is the core of the brand, and like just trying to start. Even this video is just trying to start to elaborate on that specific process of doing more dinky tech stuff, and then that's the core. But in the, outside of that, we want to try to expand and branch off so that we're going to try and have books 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We'll have dinky tech and the nature of love, continuous episode numbers as the numbers go up on those days of the week, and that's what holds me accountable to the process. Ultimately, it's been painstaking and difficult in terms of an overall process, in terms of living, focus, daily life, and all things in between for the last, like I said, I left that last school in like 2012, so it's about, 10 years to try to find a process and like sniff it out and like go the course of trying to have a process that's just tangible and sensible enough to explain. And that's kind of why this video exists, because I've done, because after book one is done, um, which it has been done. It's not really that big it's not that long. It's only like, it's 10 pages. Two of the first pages are the preface, and then there's a front and back cover. So there's like, and that's art, and then like the other pages are three art sides, and then the three explanations of the market, the experience, and the product as a linear story, which is pretty basic. It's a very basic first edition of the first book, so it exists now. It's the first. It's something also called an IPPO book, which stands for initial pre-sale public offering. It's something that was invented by Dinky Tech, and that's also something we want to spread beyond myself into. So there's like agents for Dinky Tech, and then there's also a more collective social, sort of platform, and the wider audience is able to engage in the same process, just using this weird little template that was invented basically to combine the invention, the film industry with the VC industry, pretty much, and also invention, I guess, industry. It's all the same. That kind of fits in with the VC industry, but basically, VC companies often will find brands that have um, that already have some traction, that already exist. But like the film industry will find just a script, and then they'll add all of the other parts. So this is also invention is the third layer, because we're also making the script. So that's kind of why it's three. Um, and so it starts with Dinky Tech, and then we want to go from there and have, again, agents too, and then we have like a core brand. So we're having like core brand services, which means like as a core brand in terms of affiliates that will connect to the core brand, not only like M&A services, so like if someone wants to sell their company, we're trying to be the back end, like creating publicity. We're trying to on the front end with these books and this process, and then on the back end, we're trying to have like, most business services that exist, most business growth services that exist as Dinky Tech, affiliate services, and then other sort of merchandise as time goes on. One of the first things that was attempted to be made in 2014 was a car called the Catharsis. If you go to cannar.weebly.com, which is on our main website, which our now temporary website, WLO.link / @dinkytech, DNKYTEHC. You can see under where it says research and development, you click that link, it shows the car, the Catharsis, that was intended to be built, which still could come back around and could be built and completed. It's a four-wheel version of the T-Rex car, which is a three-wheel car, but it's the Dinky Tech version, which is invented as the four-wheel version, and it's got a motorcycle engine, and it's pretty badass, ultimately, when it's actually done someday. But again, this is about invention, and it's about conceptualization, this whole company as of right now, so it's about potential, and it's not a full car, but this is really all about potential, and it's about gravitating energy from a basic digital standpoint and attention to potential good ideas to attract more people to develop on these, certain potential ideas, meaning like, well, a little more specifically, I was attempting to make that car, like manufacture it. Like I had a manufacturer paid for it, but the manufacturer didn't follow through. So there's a little hole in the gap there of it being finished. But nonetheless, it's still possible to finish it. It's very possible. I already have a manufacturer in mind for like someone who can finish it out. I mean, like I know a person there, but we don't have the capital for it or the attention for it right now because all this other world energy is way more cool to focus on regarding the potential of invention and things like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, it's about building a global community, not about and developing, continual inventions, which continues to gravitate to different elements and communities of the business world around the world through simple child's book, storyboard books on a continuous basis, um, and just continuing to spread ideas and potential rather than focusing on one specific business and trying to build out a specific product for the short and long term, although that potential exists if a CEO or someone attaches to one of these child's books, and then the potential to build that product exists. That's the point of one of the biggest points of making these child's books, storyboard books to begin with, invention books, because it can, like there's a company called Hit Record, and they make film, art, and music. Basically, that's their main product, and they do it collaboratively with people. It's made by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's an actor, and essentially, he made a company that brings a lot of other people together in a collaboration sense, and it's a pretty big community. It's a sizable community, and so this is basically the Dinky Tech version of bringing together people for these different activities that are not just film, music, and art. It's for companies, it's for products, it's for energy of different kind of products or ideas that could just, benefit people or are cool enough to do or are worthwhile basically because there's a market at the other end and it's cool enough. I would say almost Dinky Tech has a focus on the action sports industry because that's just, like I said, making a car in 2014. That was it's just like with a motorcycle engine. I used to ride a motorcycle a long time ago, and it was super incentivizing to build a car structure that also had a music sound system in it. So you got not only the music sound system, but you also got the motorcycle experience. And it seemed honestly like we were this close. The manufacturer really fell through the floor on trying to facilitate the production of that specific product because it would have been really neat to start Dinky Tech a long time ago in that in the form of that specific vehicle. But nonetheless, after losing money and time and energy in that process, it kind of birthed the path, I guess, to getting to this present point, which is a heck of a lot cooler, in my opinion, than just one car, focusing on one car. And it's now trying to focus on a whole community. And that car is now symbolized, if you go to the canner.weebly.com website, as a vehicle, which is like the human body is the vehicle, and the potential exists to make that vehicle into something cool as the car that was trying to be made by just I don't know, a lot of focus, time, and energy and effort to make the human body as a vehicle into something special. And it's really to try to highlight human potential by having the right focuses, thinking about the right things, getting the right tools and ingredients. Like a motorcycle engine would make your brain go super fast if you installed one on your brain, which is a joke, but most cars are like, they accelerate slowly, and we were going to use a motorcycle engine. So it's kind of like, it's kind of analogous to it's kind of an analogy to the to the whole thought process and the whole brand mentality. It's changing your brain into a vehicle, or your mind into the engine, essentially, and a vehicle by having good tools, the right parts, the right things, the right people around you, the right process to try to continue to build with the right tools. And once all the tools are in place, then it does circulate. The energy circulates like a vehicle, and it's like operates in the ways and directions and the way that it's for the market that it's intended to be. Like that specific vehicle was for a market, a specific market, a niche market, and when so that once it was built, it would have served a specific market, and any person, if they build a business, would be serving a niche, a specific purpose, a specific market. So like it's tuning also the brain, the mentality to a specific market, which is essentially just part of an entrepreneurship mentality. So it's also why these books are considered child's books as like the niche, focus for where we want to, where we're trying to actually focus for as people to buy the books on Amazon, these storyboard child's books, because it's like it's trying to actually educate about a host of things that are completely never educated about in school to begin with, and hopefully it's a valid concept and cause that we're actually targeting the child book industry, because it's not only just books, it's also kind of the movie industry, like, but sort of from a basic standpoint, because it's like a script to not only a potential movie, because marketing of a business is an actual movie, because a lot of times there's film content made around a business, and that's not only journalism, but it's also a movie a lot of the time. Like businesses are telling their story, and that's the whole point of the child's books, is it's telling the story of the products before they actually exist. And so therefore it's actually teaching kids about the mentality of entrepreneurship by the storytelling itself, and also the storytelling structure itself is ingrained in this like simplistic story template of the market into the um, experience, and then the product serves as the hero, or like the climax, as they say, in most movies. And most movies have a template. Most film studios have a template that they've used for a long time, like Disney or other studios for sure use templates so that they can try to predict success oftentimes. And if you look up people who also write child books, they also use templates, and other publishers, they use templates. And those books are products. They're not exactly just for entertainment. They're products in a business, and those publishers want to sell those books. So therefore, the template is a certain type of it's a template that serves to their specific market, which is a specific niche, and that niche is what their main audience is, and that's how that publisher stays in business, by continuing to serve that audience at the other end that they're directed their attention to, and that audience has learned to appreciate that specific publisher's product over a long period of time. So that's what that audience wants, and that's what that audience is built for by that publisher. So therefore, the publisher of the product wants to continue to make a similar experience, so they have a template in place to do that. So this Dinky Tech template is trying to be a part of varying sorts of industries by having this structure, and again, not only teach about entrepreneurship, but teach about the structure of the template and the importance for having consistency in pointing towards and offering value to specific niche audiences for any type of business. It's not only the invention industry, not only the VC industry, where there's existing companies. It's not only about inventing something, but it's also the movie industry. And it's combining all three of those, because that's what the movie industry does. But oftentimes the movie industry will find and outsource a product rather than, and they'll find something that exists. They'll find an existing script that exists external to them, that aligns with their structure, their strategy, their template as a business, and their audience. But oftentimes, they can do both. They can have an in-house writer. They can definitely have in-house writers at film studios, but a lot of times they'll outsource it. They'll try things new. It's not always consistent or fluid. But at Dinky Tech, we're trying to conceptualize and focus on the cumulative world and the potential, mostly in the outside world, not just the film industry, but that people, have an interest and demand to have the potential to follow up on their own interests, and having this simplified, like, to, in other words, to create value to the greater world. And this template is ideally made, and company of nkytehc is made to ideally be able to make that apparent to people, close and far, that this potential of, of invention, of being part of venture capital and being a part of film all at the same time exists within every person that has a brain and thinks and is part of the global economy, because all of our energy is connected. After all, we're all part of one global economy at all times, for sure. And that energy is, is shared by all these creative industries at all given times as well. And in addition to that, it's it's really about exploring the potential of, mentality and the brain and what's really inside of us. Everyone wants. There's a big demand. I said this in a previous stream. There's a big demand for. I call it the yeah. There's a big demand for people who want to just explore potential but don't have a direct ability to do so. And this template is not only something that it's just so simple and basic, but it helps people to invent, to be part of the VC industry and to be part of the film industry all at once by making a simple child's book storyboard, book of their own. And that's like the kind of community that we want to build to, ultimately, short and long term, is to just have people iterate in these three little pages that they fashion. A lot of times, people have an idea, and this is a circle, right? And this is the most basic way that nkytehc, after much time, effort, over time and years, like, more or less, has conceptualized the way to make this demand available for any given person, anytime, to iterate very clearly, very without mistake, in an entertaining fashion, to take that idea and unpack it and break it into three things, which actually make it apparent to the bank that there's value in this instance. Like, it's not just to a friend or family or a cool story, but like a bank can actually just listen to these three sides to the story and find value for potentially validating a business idea and potentially sticking a manufacturer in the middle of these three things to actually make something. I mean, it's about potential. This is like the unfulfilled potential zone in the world that this little simple template is attempting to address, with just addressing any idea, taking anyone, and then unpacking it into the market, the experience, and the product pages to this story template structure for any, audience or listener to take and copy this template to not only take to a bank, but to tell someone that they've invented something, or to tell someone that they've made sort of like a film script of some kind also, because it kind of fills all three holes. So your audience can be the bank. You can go to the bank and try to sell the idea conceptually. You could tell someone you invented something, and they'll be like, okay, invention, nice. Or you could tell them you just made a film script. And all three are true. Because essentially, if you wanted to make that company, right, it's the most basic form of a company. This is, in nkytehc's version or opinion, the most basic form of an entity or a company, taking a literal idea, a thought, and just making it into something tangible and real with three pages, these three concepts, in other words, these three storyboards, and then essentially, right, so you just have this idea, and then if you make it these three-sided things, the market, the experience, and um, the product, and you combine all of them into three different pages, and then you take that to anybody who listens. It is not only like they're reading a film script, but if you took it another layer, just one little extra layer on top of three little pages, so you have idea. That's a little bit untangible for it to be marketable. the most basic, simple thing for the next step for it to be marketable is to unpack it into 3 pages. The market, 1 page. The experience, page 2. The product itself and how it is the hero of that journey, page 3. And then it's a product. And it goes from idea to a product in 3 pages of explanation and how it can become a film of how it can actually become a film is taking the next step number 2 and recording a little video just like I'm doing right now. And now it's a film because I just told you about the Dinky Tech, the template, the process, and everything. And this is actually 31 minutes long, so this is longer than an episode show on Netflix from a technical standpoint. And that is a matter of connecting with Netflix and doing your paperwork and getting them in there, but all I'm doing is talking. So all I'm doing is telling you what was on the 3 sides of the Dinky Tech template. All I'm doing is verbally explaining at this moment to you the market to begin with, the experience of Dinky Tech, and the product itself of Dinky Tech, which is business music. That's how it's expressed. It's not music, the music business. It's business music. That's a coined Dinky Tech term, and potentially it's possible. If you see anything more from Dinky Tech, you'll hear it more often as a result, because it's not only business, it's also music. It's trying to iterate on the poetry of business and unpack the heart of a business in the most simple storytelling format to just iterate on the value that is within any given business idea by putting it into a story format, which is also similar to a roadmap of any business that exists. It's very similar. Most all businesses that exist, they don't not know what they're doing tomorrow. Every single business knows for sure. Every business that's been in business for a long time knows what they're doing tomorrow. They know what they're doing the day after that. They know what they're doing next year. They know what they're doing 4 years from now because it's all on a roadmap. And those roadmaps of 4 years can be unpacked or packed up, in other words, into 3 luggage suitcases of the market first, and this template of the market, the experience, and the product as the hero. As long as those 4 years ahead are in that 3-part template, then it's possible to unpack those 3 things into a 4-year roadmap of that company. So hopefully this video offered value, and it's also the expression and iteration and step 2, as I said, because we just made our first child's book. So we unpacked the 3 pages, the 3 sides in the first child's book, which is now on Amazon published. And this is the step 2 where I'm iterating it on a video format. So it is like a film in essence. And this is kind of like, maybe we'll just call it one of the first formal films of Dinky Tech, the brand, although I've been making content for many years to no audience after all. Not as though that's a problem necessarily, but this one is sort of, this specific stream and recording is to sort of try to at least acknowledge that this one is for more of like the point of turning, where because that book was one of the first distributed items from this organization of Dinky Tech, that going forward, it's not just about in other words, that this hopefully piece of content, this video, serves as some kind of a landmark or standpoint where I've tried to unpack verbally the Dinky Tech intention, and it kind of symbolizes some kind of a start to some new form of energy, seeing as I've published the book on Amazon. So again, it's not huge publicity coming to this piece of content nonetheless, but it's just acknowledging that the book was published. So that's the first kind of form of formal distribution, in my opinion. And this video is just kind of like the second. It's like it's not significantly wait it. I'm not going to pay to have this distributed necessarily, but it will stand hopefully in time to just exist on the Facebook page and hereafter as a symbol for the, the second, uh, level of content to try to keep the Dinky Tech mentality, fresh and at least explained as time goes on, and iterations of the Dinky Tech brand come out in different forms of either books, music type content or clothing type of stuff. And so this is just an explanation of the Dinky Tech brand from a basic standpoint, because it did take many years for what it's worth, and living like a, silly, living in weird, not, luxury type of ways and such as like a sacrifice to be able to just focus for long times and like sort of move through the, time having to sort of just kind of move beyond certain lacks of future comforts to focus on getting to this point, which for better or worse took a really long time, as I said, just to add these pieces together. And that's ultimately why I'm speaking for so long. Still, it's actually been like over 35 minutes, and it's like it's been a quick 35 minutes, but at the same time, it's just that's why I'm able to speak for 35 minutes, because it's been a long time, and that long time is packed into the last few minutes of me just talking. So hopefully it's valuable nonetheless. And like I said, again, this is just kind of a symbol of the the Dinky Tech brand and intention and the structure and template, like that is intended to serve value, not only for our company or not only for this brand and ours, but overall, really, just to acknowledge the template and the potential of templatification, even though it's not a word, to acknowledge, to try to unpack the value of ideas that a lot of people don't think that you can. But it's like that's just really the most basic sense of how you can unpack the value of just ideas. Ideas themselves, unfortunately, don't have that significant of value. But when you just unpack them and just make the simplest, that's why I'm even saying it took a long time, because it's the simplest version of iterating value from an idea. It's not like, and it's really not that serious. Like, it's like anyone else could think of it this way too. But like the linear way of thinking of it, in my opinion, is product, experience, market. Like, it's like, oh, this is the product. What's the experience going to be like? Okay, cool. What's the market it could fit in? Got it. And that's the linearity. But the storytelling version, it's not even, again, that complex, but it's market, experience, and then the product is the hero. So that's why it's a little bit of the Dinky Tech invented format, structured type of thing. I'm just spinning my wheels at this point, after all, but, that's about it. Just wanted to expand on the timeline, because, again, it's been a while of just sort of living ups and downs and weird places and things. And most people, like, especially close and far and in between, have just are like, you need a normal process and structure and blah, blah, blah to be like other people and do the structure that they're doing and like have, the life and the dog and white picket fence and like a wife and like grandchildren and things, like not grandchildren, but children. And that's not personally my first interest. Like, this is like I care about, sort of think of business as a priority, and that's the way it's been for a while. Maybe those things could be in the future, but the bottom line, it's not a big bottom line, but it's just the saying that it's been a long time. That's all, and it's just sort of maybe a way of venting about that and just acknowledging that, like, well, yeah, no, it's been a long one. And peculiar of a process, but just to try to like have an end point to that timeline is really and it's definitely not at all the end of the timeline, but it's the end of it's just sort of, it's been a while to publish that first book. That's all it comes down to. And like, so that's why this explanation of the brand with that first book published is why it's important now to do it after that. I could never try to validate or, talk before that book happened because the structure wasn't in place and it wasn't published in a formal sense, in the literary sense, in the literary community in life means it's like if it's acknowledged publicly, which is kind of a joke because I just published it on Amazon, but it's a symbol of just getting that done and over with, so that now Dinky Tech hopefully can do the same thing over and over. And that's the biggest point of what I'm even saying it for, is because it's about repetition at this point and not new things constantly. Like for the last 10 years, it's been new things, new things, new things, new things. But, a business is about repetition and actually having that circular sort of motion so that things flow ultimately. And that's maybe what I'm sort of attempting to make reference to, is having the ability to now to be more circular and cyclical upon like trying to close the last part of the gap as Dinky Tech, or with the Dinky Tech brand, with publishing that book. And that's what that was a symbol of, is kind of closing the last part of the loop, and or gap. There's a store with that name right there, over there. I mean, and that's about it. So, nonetheless, I'll cut it there. But regardless, I appreciate. Well, there's nobody watching, so I would say I appreciate you all. Thanks for hanging out. But if there's anyone in the future that ever watches it, I appreciate your your somehow attention of sitting through this long. And that's about it. Just acknowledging also that in terms of this unfulfilled potential concept, that like all of these ideas, I make the circle motion because it's not, because you can start with the three pages, the 3-page book. Like, I guess closing the loop means going from the 3 pages to, and then again, maybe the next step is a video, expression of intent, or talking it out loud. Just come in and out of the process, and then then you can serve more people, or like are ready to grow the business essentially, because the first process is a closed loop. It's like a anyway, electricity, well, whatever, anyways. Point being is like, you know any idea can be started with the book format, and it's trying to address the unfulfilled potential market where people have an idea and they go, and it goes away. But there's a lot of potential, like in just the 3-sided template concept, and just going from there and trying to acknowledge that starting with the 3-sided things, because you can lose ideas really easy, but once you take the step to just write down 3 sides, and if you make a little drawing with each of them, it makes it like a storyboard, like a film. Basically, it goes from, you have not only a script, but you have a visual of your film. So it's like you're doing both, but just with 3 little pages, and maybe some scribble drawings for each of the 3 pages, really. And those 3 pages can, because it's a beginning, middle, and end, and the story doesn't have a definite timeline. Any given story doesn't have a definite timeline. It can be 1 minute. One song can be 1 minute. It can be 25 minutes. Like the No Effects did a song called the what was it called? It came out in the 90s, and it had its own CD. It was one song. It was 27 minutes. It was a fun one. It was a really cool song. The Decline, I think it was called. Anyways, beyond that, the point is that the iteration of a business can take different forms of time. And so, although something starts as 3 pages, it's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if it takes 8 years to unpack those 3 pages, you have those 3 storyboards in front of you guiding you as the beginning, middle, and then where you're trying to go. The beginning is the market. That's almost like it's where you're starting now. It's almost kind of like that. It's a symbol. That's where you're starting now. The experience is building the product and like getting there, like moving towards developing, manufacturing, getting the things together, understanding the audience, like having the process. This is actually for the entrepreneur. Like they're putting all the elements and the things in place. The marketing people, blah 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 blah, legal, to just develop the experience. That's a whole cumulative circle, putting the pieces together. That's the entrepreneur journey. It's a symbol for that also as the experience. And then the product itself is the end goal. It's the hero. It's the finishing of the product. And it's a symbol of closing the loop after all, after the whole amount of time. So that 3 pages that you just took an idea and made it into 3 pages, which is then not only a digital book and a product and something that you can explain a story to someone. A story is a product. An idea is just a circle. Which, I mean, it's whatever it is. It's not exactly marketable for what it's worth. That's why ideas are said to be valueless, but that's bullcrap. But, and this is why. Because the point being, and this is just one last iteration before exiting this stream, this chat, is that, is the emphasis that once you put the 3 down there, it's the beginning, the middle, the end of not only the business idea, but it's also the entrepreneur journey that you just laid out. And it's a very simplistic format, and it's something to easily not confuse into the market, the experience, and the product itself. And you make a little sketch for each of them, so they're actually a storyboard depicting this specific little outline. Once you have those 3 things in front of you, it can, like I said, a song could be a minute or it could be 30 minutes. The bottom line is it could be the same with the 3 drawings. You can stumble on to someone tomorrow, and then they can look at the idea and be like, here, I'll fund it. Let's run it through my company, and then your product exists tomorrow, right? So that's like a minute song. But it could take 8 years. And then that's like more like the other song mentioned before, which is like 40 minutes, a 40-minute song or so. And that's just obviously a silly example, but that's 8 years versus a minute of 2 different songs. They're both products. A 1-minute song is a product, the same as a 30-minute song is a product, but the other one takes longer, and usually it's a better result when it takes longer and there's more time and effort and energy put into it. It's more care and love and blah blah blah. You do things right, you learn things, yada yada yada. If you do things in one day and the entrepreneur picks it up and wants to invest in your thing, you don't learn nearly as much. You don't have to learn nearly as much. When it takes longer, you have to fill in the little cracks and the holes and things along the way. So you're learning because you have to learn from a more, you have to learn more significant things. So either way, it's learning, and learning really is, in my opinion, like one of the biggest, if not the biggest part of the game, the whole entrepreneur game. So because one way or another, it's just like filling a goal. It's like starting something and then trying to just get there and do it, so that I don't know. So it's just like it's done more or less. It's not just like closing a loop. It's like I don't know. It's like making something that like is tangible, that is something that you enjoy. It's not only scratching your own itch, but it's something that other people's itch can be scratched too. And that's why it's more of an interest. That's why it's more worthwhile to explore the potential of an idea and unpack it so that it's a tangible, pursuable, addressable process for the entrepreneur, the person who considers it and thinks of it to actually pursue, because because it's worthwhile. The journey, it not only has you meet other people that are like-minded, but also the learning is like a big factor. So like, if it is a 1 minute song, that's great. You'll end up learning in a more quick and condensed way. But if it's a longer journey, if it's the 8 year process to get something to market or to get a product developed or to get things along the way, it's all good. It's all music. It's all business music, and that's why it's all good and it's all love. And that's the intent of our overall brand, is to continue to expand on that. And so yeah, after all, that's I don't know. I think that's kind of the core of entrepreneurship, really. It's like love because people care enough about something to add value to the market. Really, it's not about making a cool new little product, but it's the love that comes from the appreciation of the new product. And the entrepreneur gets rewarded in funds, so they can make their life better. But after all, you're serving a bigger market and you're making people's lives better. And it's like a cause that's served, and it's a a betterment of a certain part of the world that's also called a niche that is enhanced based on the actions that are developed by a specific person or company or entity or starting point starting point place, which is something as simple as an idea that's put on the radar of your own attention to begin with, and something that in terms of the unfulfilled potential market is something that can be fulfilled in terms of addressing that, like with our little. Anyways, that's what Dinky Tech likes to think is viable, continuously addressable process that can hopefully be replicated and duplicated, and and cryptocurrency is a great example of that. I think as I learned more about crypto, that it's a super cool symbol for the ability and for continual expansion, not only with technology, but just like the mentality of possibilities to continue to expand, coming from the, and it's just starts with, because it's like it's potential energy, and it's a tool like Dinky Tech is trying to be to help fulfill the unfulfilled potential, so to speak, and that's just real cool and momentous and continuing to hopefully um, improve or increase momentum in increase in momentum. Anyways, that's all good, and yeah, we'll try and wrap it up there. It's I'll try and wrap it up now. I yeah, no, I'll just close in saying that after all, it's like, again, this started because it's been like a long time, and it's not even that big of a deal. I'm not trying to commemorate the time that's passed necessarily. It's about the sacrifice, and like other people I think will look at you often, and they'll judge and they'll make calls about you and things. But when you're focused on like what you're doing, which is unpacking the potential and idea of market value in any sort of entrepreneur thing, that it's like it's ironic or interesting. It's like you care about these people, but they're judging you based on surface level things, and they're not really listening to you, and they're not even giving you the time or attention to your business concepts or like your pursuit of this journey and story. Um, and so, therefore, it's like this insight because you can see that they're not giving you the time to try to acknowledge where you're going and things like that, and you can see they're judging you from surface things. And it's peculiar how other people who are important in things, they it's not that they fall by the wayside, but their opinions do and their judgments do, because they're not weary or acknowledging that you're sacrificing other creature comforts or things to try to get to a point of closing a loop and bringing electricity from one pole to the other, and you don't know how long it's going to take. You just know you have to keep putting the parts together until the electricity can flow. And it can't flow unless all the conductors are there, more or less. So like the market stands for the one of the poles of electricity. The experience stands for the electricity itself of any given business concept, and then the third one, which is the product, is the other pole. So that's how electricity flows between two poles. And so that's what it's symbolic of. And like once it's the loop is full, essentially, then I mean, it can't flow unless the circuit is complete or whatever. The circuit is full. If there's a part missing, then the electricity doesn't flow. And that's what this is a symbol for, and that's what this last, long-winded conclusion is just trying to emphasize and reiterate. It's like if your family or anyone, and it doesn't even matter, is trying to make a surface, conceptual, uh, pass a thought about you that's negative or something, and they're not acknowledging that you're trying to facilitate a full circle process, and there's no known timeline, and you have to continue to try to just like pursue filling the circle until it's possible for the uh, to be able to have energy there to go through the process, and that it has to be complete in order for the energy to go through, like the current to go through. Um, that that ultimately, if you know that you're just trying to complete the current, and it takes a long time, again, it can take one day to get a company funded, or it can take 8 years to have the full circle complete. And like, if you just care enough, and other people don't understand and stuff, and you're making sacrifices along the way, and people judge you as a result, it's like it's difficult to acknowledge that that's their issue, not yours, because you know what you're doing, and they don't, because they don't actually give you the time to listen to the parts and pieces that you put together, and how you're trying to put other ones together to get to the end result of completing the circle. Because they don't give you the time. If someone's willing to give you the time and they care enough to listen to your whole process, it's likely they'll maybe want to work with you or be part of your company, which makes things easier. And so it's great if you have people that do care enough, because I mean, it just helps the process. It just helps things along. And in addition to that, and basically in closing, it's it's more than just about the money. Again, it's about the character that kind of comes and is built. And this is full circle to the movie industry, because it's the character that's built as a result of this template and this concept, and having this understanding of the market, the experience, and the product itself, and having to have those three things in place, and having to be on that journey from one to the other to complete the circle, and acknowledging that it's about the person and the character that is become, and the person is the product. After all, like, the person is the product, and once the circle is complete, the person becomes a better person as a result. Sort of like in the movie industry, how Marvel movies have become a significantly, liked product. Just like Marvel and superhero movies are super well liked, and the parallel to that is salespeople. Salespeople are called superheroes oftentimes when they're good, because they're helping people with problems, and they're really convicted about what they're selling, and that's how they sell, because they're trying to help. And they're really like biting, chomping at the bit, like, no, you have this problem, you called us, remember, like, and they're trying to help people to get to the solution. And even that is a symbol of walking them from like their problem to the solution, which is essentially the product. And that's like, you're starting with the market. The market gives you a call, but they're not sure they really want the product. But as the superhero salesperson, you walk them to the product with the experience that you paint with the picture of speaking as your mouth. And that, in conclusion, is why essentially, like, Disney and these entertainment films have gotten so popular, because there is a thirst and a desire, which I think again speaks to the unfulfilled potential market, and that market entails is actually is sorry expressing the desire and the demand for the interest of people to serve as a superhero of sorts, and it doesn't seem like there is an outlet for people to have that in the actual world. Whereas thinking in the form of a superhero salesperson and the conceptual dinky tech template is what's trying to make that possible. As I just sort of expressed a second ago, it's a matter of completing this energy and this circuit, and walking the people with your words and expression from the problem, which is kind of the market, market and being a superhero, just like in superhero movies. Then the superhero comes in and saves someone at the end. It's the same thing, but in sales. So this is just saying that it's apparent that people can have the same potential as those movies, and that's why they're so popular. But it's also to end on the note of a movie as part of the thing that is related to this overall topic of storytelling and taking an idea, not just making a movie out of it, which is one of the parts of the layers, but it's making the life, into a movie of a certain kind, and using marketing as the film, which is also journalism, essentially to iterate on the journey to provide value and help people short and long term, and then also complete the circuit. So eventually the process can grow, and you can try to add not only more people in terms of helpers, but like customers, and then it's more like X-Men, where you have like a crew of other similar mutants who are trying to help in your in a positive cause that relates to a business or a organization like the X-Men is one group. Thanks again, Dinky Tech. Peace.